Yeah, hi, Alan. Yeah, just couldn't be bothered to type in the rest of the name.
I know you
Morning,
just prefer to
YouTube.
be an enigma.
Hey,
Yeah.
everybody. Say good morning to our YouTube audience. Welcome. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. We'll get started in just a few.
Yeah.
Diane Duran. That almost sounds like Duran Duran.
Like, I'm sure she's never heard that before.
Yeah. What's that? A UK pop group, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Any relation?
No.
So for you COVID diehards, Paul's not going to be here today. Of course, you all know that he was in a vaccine trial, got his second vaccine yesterday. He's pretty sure it was not the placebo because he's not feeling too well. But that's good for him. He really wanted the real vaccine. So we won't have a COVID breakout room today. Just one with Charles.
Although if someone wants to run a COVID group, not a COVID group, but if someone wants to run another room, you're welcome to come up with something, and offer that. But you can't just come up with it and just throw it out there in the world. You have to run the group. Adam.
I mean, I can do one today for 20 minutes. I have a meeting at the top of the hour at 10, but I can do it today. If you need me to do something, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What would your breakout room be?
I mean, we'll just do it what my knowledge is, and just we could call it your overall health. Just do something like that. We'll see what people are doing, what questions they have, what they know about the healthcare system, what opportunities they're working on, that type of stuff.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, alternative health, right? There's a lot of people that like the non-traditional healthcare system, which I support as well. So just to get that conversation going might be interesting.
So now I have a dilemma. I want to be in your room.
Well, it's the cool kid room, so you got to pick, man.
It's 9 o'clock. I'm turning on recording. So everything from now on will be recorded. Welcome. Kick us off, Adam.
And don't forget to unmute yourself.
Why would I forget that?
I don't know.
All right, we're gonna go all the way. I was all practicing, so I sound cooler. Sonia pointed out that I was asleep last time. At least that was my interpretation. Anyway, this is 1 Million Cups. Welcome everybody. We are a group that see, I'm already stumbling over things. So this is, for some reason, I didn't think this was going to be the next one. Oh well, the mission of 1 Million Cups is to lower the barrier of access to education, resources, connection for all New Mexico. For all new aspiring entrepreneurs in the United States. The big idea is it's a national movement with a local mission, and it's so that when you could go anywhere and basically get the same format and you know what you're getting into. And then there's all kinds of support for like the organizers and the folks that are putting it together. We're up here in Albuquerque. Anybody can join us, of course, but we've kind of got a monopoly here in New Mexico. It's pretty exciting. The key pillars here are not pitches. We want authentic connections. And
so Adam, I'd say keep going, but I don't see. Oh, there we go. It's taken a while for your slides to catch up to us. I see key pillars now. Sorry.
All right. And then we're run for the community, by the community. We got 5 or 6 organizers, which we'll talk about in just about a couple slides here. And we're radically and intentionally inclusive. So anybody anything. All right. Apply to present. You can too. All you need is one client or one purchase or whatever, and that is the entry level. And we'd love to have you on if you're really working with kind of where you want to go with your business and would like to have feedback. So don't aim for perfection, aim for getting to it. We've got Paul Sauter with Equiseek, and these Lisa is our co-lead organizer with Sonia Doing, and then Eric here is he's doing stuff for the entrepreneur community, and Babsi Sinandale, and she's got Black Gold Wellness, and I've got my thing in the rest lounge. And then there's me with Sparks Flow, and Sonia Doing has Plot Duckies. And then of course, Lisa here is also hosting us here at Fat Pipe, which leads us into our sponsors. Fat Pipe is got a fat pipe of internet. That's where the name comes from, for those that might be wondering. And that's why they're great people to host us on this virtual version, even though they also used to host us in person, and we're looking forward to that day as well. Loza and Loza is intellectual properties. They have been hosting us for a long they've been sponsoring us for a long time. More Than Organized with Miriam Ortiz Pino. She is our creamer person. She found that she wanted a particular type of creamer and she could provide it, so she's brought it when we were in person. And then Jason Collins does photography for us. Apparently you want to keep on smiling because he also still does photography as we're online. And then Noventum Custom Softwares is our donut supplier, again, when we were in person. And they are happy to help you. All right, that is the last slide. And so I'm going to pass it on to Sonia. Are you the coach?
I am the coach. Before I introduce our presenter this morning, though, I want to hear from at least 3 people this morning to introduce themselves. So I might call on you if I don't recognize your face, or maybe I don't know you, or maybe we do know you and I'll call on you. Let's see. Or who wants to offer to introduce themselves? We'll start there.
I do.
All right, go for it.
My name is Davey Gibson. I'm a volunteer coordinator with the Office of Civic Engagement at the Mayor's Office. I was with 1 Million Cups, and I've been to some meetings at 1 Million Cups often last year before COVID arrived. And I know how exciting and good news that 1 Million Cups give. So I decided to get on the Zoom, to find you guys on Zoom and try to make it on Wednesday morning.
Yay! Welcome, David.
Thank you.
All right, how about Diane Duran?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Diane Duran. I'm the Administrative and Marketing Coordinator for Giddens and Gatton Law. Our law firm practices primarily in bankruptcy, which has really seen an influx of clients due to COVID. So I'm trying to get back into the networking realm. I took some time off after I had my daughter in July, and I'm ready to get back out there and just let everybody know what we do and how we might be able to help some of the small business community that that's really taken a hit during this pandemic. So I just kind of wanted to meet everybody and see what 1 Million Cups is all about. I've only been to a few meetings and I really want to learn more.
Awesome. Welcome, Diane. And everyone, feel free to share your information in the chat and even a link to your websites or whatever. All right, let's see. Who am I going to?
Hello, John.
John, go for it, John.
Good morning. My name is John Moore, and I was formerly the executive director for STEPS, a nonprofit that worked with micro entrepreneurs. And I took a little breather. We shut it down just because of COVID. It just wasn't quite working. And I've taken a position with a company in town. It's called ABQ IT. And they are a division of a 12-year-old family-owned company who is the largest electronic recycler in New Mexico. And this IT company has been in development for about a little over a year. And we're working with JJ at the Hispano Chamber. We're getting involved with them. We're going to have a big rollout and an open house at the end of the month. And very excited to do this. It's a unique offering, a cloud-based solution for anybody that has 20 users or more. We will not only refresh all of their equipment, everything would be cloud-based. We have 24/7 US-based support, and I could go on, but I won't. This is not my show. Thank you.
Yay! Thank you, Sean. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
And real quick, before I introduce our speaker, I did see Rebecca Belen is actually offering to do a group on engaging entrepreneurs in city government. So we want to put that on the list, Lisa?
Got it.
Okay, awesome.
Rebecca, instant message me privately the name of your room.
And that's Lisa Fat Pipe. Or 1 Million Cups. 1 Million Cups, Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, so our speaker this morning, many of you may have known him before because he was an organizer. He took, first of all, he was a huge help when we switched, when our lives suddenly went crazy and we couldn't do this in person. He helped run 1 Million Cups virtually for probably a couple of months before we got Zoom and everything kind of organized. So huge help. And actually Charles is rejoining our organizing team. And so you guys will see his face more often, but he has an update for his company, which is really exciting. And I also feel like there's a lot of things startups don't talk about sometimes. And he's in his challenges today, he's going to talk about these challenges that he's facing. And as an audience, you guys get a chance to ask him questions and help him with his challenges, as well as think about, are there other ways you can help him think about his business? But Charles, take it away.
All right, that sounds good. And it looks like everybody went blank. Is that intentional? Are we doing that?
I see everybody. I don't know.
Well, you can hear me, so we're good.
Yes, I can hear you and I can see your presentation.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Let me get this started here. All right. So my name is Charles Garrison, and I own X10 Marketing. I started it in January 15th of 2019. So we're just a little over 2 years old now. Me personally, I've been an entrepreneur since I was a sophomore in high school. So I sold sodas and candy and a bunch of stuff in high school. And that's where I got my start in entrepreneurship. I worked for a large nonprofit here, a local nonprofit, for 10 years, exactly, actually, 10 years to the day. And that's when I left there, I left as the director of marketing and communications. I had built a team. We had up to 18 people at one point. And in the time that we had started the marketing department within the organization, the very first year we were able to increase donations by 77%. So almost doubled, which was pretty incredible. So that's me. Again, I started X10 Marketing a little over 2 years ago. And the reason we call it X10 Marketing, our mission is to give 10 times more value than our services cost. And that's who we are, but what we do and how we make money. So we are a service-based company. We specialize in digital ads, website development, content creation, email marketing, local SEO, and consultation services, with a primary focus in digital ads. So these are Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Google ads, those kind of things are really one of our core competencies. And we work with a lot of different companies, a lot of different local companies. We work with some out of state, but our primary focus right now is really startups. We really enjoy working with startups, and it really goes well with the mission of X10 to really help other businesses. So that's a big part of what we're doing. And one thing, one thing, to give you an example of one way that we work to accommodate startups, normally when you're looking at a marketing project, you might come up with a plan that costs X number of dollars. And you can either afford that or you can't afford that. So what we tried to do is, instead of that kind of a model, really what we do is it's almost like a slider. So what we try and do is ask for a budget. How much can you afford to put into your marketing efforts? And that from there, we can then scale up or down the marketing plan, the marketing services, depending on what the budget is. So we found that with a lot of startups, one of the biggest challenges that they face is funding at the beginning, but they want to get going, they need to get going, they need to get that momentum. So this kind of a model helps us to service very small clients to very large clients as well. And so we don't have to compromise in there. But it really helps for the startups to be able to manage their costs as they're getting going. So that's one way that we work with startups. So where are we at right now? We are growing. X10 Marketing is financially stable at this point. We're doing really solid on the financial side. Right now, for the past 2 years, I have been building systems. So we're trying to automate a lot more of what we do and make us more efficient. And really, I have a programming background. I've been a programmer for nearly 2 decades. So leveraging that skill set to bring that into the company as well. The other thing that we're growing in, we finally have an accountant. I hate accounting, where financials is just not something I really enjoy doing, but I like to see and know where the company's at all times. So now working with a professional accountant, that's really helped to get everything in the right places. And I know where the finances are at all times, and that's really helpful. And then the next step, we're hiring. So our next, we have had employees before. We've worked with employees and contractors, but really the next step is to start hiring full-time employees. So we do have an open position for a technical account manager right now, which you can find on LinkedIn if you're interested. And that's the next step. And then finally, we're actually making an expansion into Dallas. So Dallas is a new market that we're going to be entering. I'm going to be moving to Dallas to help make that work. And Albuquerque is still remaining open, and we're intentionally trying to bring the two markets together and help leverage strengths from either one, really with a goal of boosting Albuquerque. All right, so that's all the question, or all the presentation I have, except for, I know one of the questions coming up is going to be red or green, or Christmas, if you will. And this is an interesting one. I presented at 1 Million Cups nearly at the beginning of when I started X10 Marketing Agency. And this is a slide that was in that presentation. And at that point, I noted that I eat this pepper, this Carolina Reaper, daily. And I actually still, I don't eat it daily, but I still eat it quite often. But I've really lost, it's interesting for me because as a native New Mexican, I always thought I would love green chili deeply. But over the last year, I've actually lost quite a bit of a taste for chili in general. I still like green chili, but I wouldn't classify it as my favorite food any longer, which is quite interesting. So, all right, and finally, our challenges. So our biggest challenges right now are hiring full-time staff. And the reason why that's a challenge is because you've got to, we had to get to a place where we were financially strong to be able to hire an employee and know that we would be able to commit to that salary. At the same time, we needed to be able to get enough work in to get that money. So it's kind of the chicken or the egg problem. And it's just taken time and a lot more energy and effort than originally anticipated to get to that point. So that's a struggle. And the other thing is working with startups, because startups, some have finances, some don't have finances. Startup owners tend to be very spastic. They have a lot of ideas. They're trying to go in a lot of directions. And so it's something that we really enjoy. We really love working with startups, which is why we're targeting that group. But it is also a challenge in its own way. So that's where we're at.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Charles. We do have a few questions already. So Alan, I think you're first.
I have a couple of suggestions for you. One, I may have to hedge my bet on. You have a slide that says startup, and I may not be representative of the population, but when I see a picture where no one's wearing a mask and no one is socially distanced, that's what I think about.
Yeah.
Then you said that you're moving into the Dallas market. And I thought, well, maybe this might be the better picture. I don't know. So I'll leave that to you. The other suggestion comes from my 17 years as a bankruptcy attorney and 20 years as an insolvency consultant. And I was really happy to hear that you engaged an accountant. But one thing that a lot of people don't do, and it's something that I've done in my own businesses and I do in my own life, is I project cash out a year. And so that if I want to make a decision, say I want to take on a large client, I can plug those numbers in, the revenues and the costs, and I can see what effect that will have on cash moving forward. And I know in working with some clients, it's like, yeah, the big job is what you want. And then you plug the numbers in and you see you can't afford to take that big job because that puts your whole company at risk. So kind of one of my missions right now in life, just as a retired person, is to keep people from bankruptcy. And one of the ways to do that is to really have an honest sense of where you are and where you're going to be with cash, because cash is king. And so that's what I would recommend, that you work with your accountant to come up with something that will allow you to project cash.
Okay, that's a great feedback. Thank you, Alan.
You're welcome.
Okay, and I know Miriam suggested that perhaps you've burned off your taste buds.
No, I taste just fine, actually. I can even taste water.
Okay. Let's see.
COVID, so
And Sean, you're up next.
Thank you. Just a question on pricing. Hold on one second. Oh yeah, question on pricing. Can you just discuss a little bit more about how you go about that for, a higher payer versus a lower payer? I wasn't sure if you so if somebody has less money, are you essentially just charging them less based off where they're at, or are you providing a different service that's lower cost?
great question. Thank you for that. I actually have a friend who owns, he's really a freelancer here in Albuquerque. And we talked about this because he works with a wide range of clients as well. And his side on this is that really you should be doing more value-based approach to pricing. That's his position, which is, if you're working for a small company here in Albuquerque and you're doing a logo, you might charge, let's say $500. I'm just making up numbers. Versus if he's doing a logo for, let's say, a professional sports team, he might charge $10,000. I don't know what that would go for from him, but just as an example, that's how he prices. Personally, I don't think that's right for us. I don't feel right about that model on the other end. So we have not pursued that intentionally. So we actually charge standard pricing, but the slider allows us to scale up and down. So one of the things that we're really good at is building a strategy that is tailored for a circumstance and for a situation. So if you have, let's say, $1,000 budget and you want to get started, we're going to set realistic expectations. I can't get you, 10,000 new customers from that. It's just not going to happen. But if you want to get started, I can tell you how we can use that $1,000 the most effective way so that you get started on that journey. And you can get an idea of what the benefit of that would be through that. Now, if you have $10,000 or larger budget, obviously we can scale that up and we can do a lot more. So maybe, let's just make it up and say we were going to do a landing page for $1,000. If you have $10,000, we might be able to do a full-blown website and also an email marketing campaign or something of that nature. So it's just blending different services together and figuring out strategically how can we use those dollars as effectively as possible. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So interesting. So
the other thing is time.
Yeah.
you know, if you need it done in 3 days and we have a lot of projects, that's really hard for us to manage. So, you know, if on the other hand, you need it in 6 weeks, that's a lot. We can fit that in a little differently, and we can actually buffer time. So we make up lost costs on time that we would have empty.
Okay, cool. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good question.
Okay, and Charles, do you have a slide with your contact info on it?
I do.
Aha. Okay. Miriam has the next question.
All right. Hi, Miriam, by the way.
Hey, Charles. How's it going? Been a while.
Yeah.
Wondering, so there's kind of a couple thoughts that are interconnected to what Sean was asking about. You know, there's an opportunity to create some sort of signature system that you offer to startups. So it's already kind of created and they all follow the same thing to get up to speed, with a little bit of customization available in it. Have you ever considered doing something like that? Like, here's our startup package and it covers the basics. And then it scales up with modules or something for pricing.
Yes, and we're actually exploring something like that. I've been talking to Dan Heron from CNM Ingenuity and TJ Cook, who does a lot in the startup community as well, and they've been connecting me with different entrepreneurs. And I've been talking with local startups, you know, some of our clients, but also people who are not our clients. Because the conversations go a little differently versus a client versus a non-client, and so we're working towards building something like that, but I don't have that fleshed out yet.
Okay, and then similarly, you might consider. So what I do to be able to help people that can't really afford me is I charge my regular rate to a lot of people, and then I offer a couple scholarships, if you will, for the people that can't quite afford me but are really interesting and I want to help them out. So you might be able to, you know, work with startups that have at least been existing for a year or at a certain revenue level, and then you offer this kind of more do-it-yourself, here's the framework for those that aren't quite there yet, or strategy session that they can then run with themselves. I don't know. It seems like there's some sort of combination that might help you even out the cash flow issues.
That's a really, really good idea. Thank you, Miriam. Yeah, I like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have a question for you, Charles, which is, I mean, obviously you've seen some success. Is there any way you can look at the clients you've had and kind of figure out what made them work? Why did they have money to do what they needed to do, and try to figure out how to target clients like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. That's for us, one of the verticals that we go into in digital ads is law firms, and that's one because we've seen really good success with law firms. We have kind of a good pattern for rolling something out pretty quick with and that's effective for law firms specifically. And they tend to have you know, when they bring in a new client, that tends to be a high value client, which that's a perfect scenario for digital ads if every person you bring in is a high value client for you. Such as, you know, as it is for in lawyers typically, we've seen really good success. So yeah, thank you for that too. We'll explore more like that. But yeah, that's one, I think, an example of what you're talking about.
Yeah, and actually, it makes me think. I wonder, you know, what about talking to your accountant, right? People who are willing to pay an accountant to do their accounting might be willing to pay money for a marketing agency. So maybe asking your accountant if they have any clients that they would suggest you reach out to or something.
That's a great idea. I love that too. Thank you. Fantastic. Yeah.
All right. And David, was this the email you were looking for? Was Charles's email? David Gibson. I can't see you. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Okay, cool. John Moore, you had a question.
Yeah, two questions really, or a question and a suggestion. Have you relegated your business just to startups?
No, so we do not work exclusively with startups. I think we would probably go broke if we did that right now. So we work quite a bit with legal and medical industries specifically as well, currently, and that's what pays the bills. But right now, we're not actively seeking out those type of clients. We would certainly take them on if they were a good fit, but we're really seeking out startups. That's where our focus is for intentional clients.
And the suggestion is to take a position as an outsource marketing director for some of these companies, and sometimes it's easier for them to pay you like that.
And what's the benefit of that, John?
Well, the benefit is that you really get involved in the business development. You understand what they're spending their money on, and you can advise them on a blank spot that they have in maybe their startup psyche or whatever it is. And you become you're an independent contractor that really takes an active role in their company. Okay. And you're sort of betting on the come a little bit that way.
You guys are on fire today. Great feedback. You mentioned you had a second one as well, John?
No, that was it. I just had the question about startups only, and then a suggestion about being an outsourced marketing director or something like that.
Great. Thank you for that.
Okay, Adam, you were up next.
Sorry, I'm trying to get to the screen. It was just a simple question. Do you have specific markets you work in? Because everyone on the call is different industries, different backgrounds. Have you shown success in specific verticals?
The two that we found really or the three that we found are startups. So we have a real good way of working with startups and helping them to develop the structure that they need to do more. So I would say that's successful for startups for the moment. And then the two that we found that we were able to really just do exceptional work in is legal and medical. Those two areas, we have a good understanding of the audiences within, generally speaking, the audiences within that, and the tools available to properly communicate to those audiences, as well as the right messaging. We have a good understanding of the right messaging, keywords, all that stuff. So those are the verticals that we're really strong in. In terms of physical markets, right now we've focused on the Albuquerque market specifically. We do have clients in New York and Texas and various states around the United States, but the majority of our book of business is here in Albuquerque. And the next phase will be increasing that book of business as we expand to Dallas.
All righty. Next up is Annie.
Hold on, I had to unmute myself. I apologize.
Okay, that's okay.
Hey, Charles, have you targeted social impact organizations, and how is this any different? How do you pre-qualify those?
Yeah, that's interesting. Coming from a nonprofit background and working within the nonprofit sector for 10 years, I really thought that's where we were going to go at the beginning, and we were going to focus on nonprofit specifically. Causal-based stuff was going to be a big focus. Through that journey, though, and talking with a lot of the connections that we had in that, it really just, to be honest, didn't go anywhere. So I do have. I would really like to work with nonprofits more so and causal-based organizations. But up to this point, we really haven't had that opportunity, to be completely honest. I think we've probably bid on 3 total projects like that, and I think 2 of those were we got the book of business for that, but the other one we didn't, and that's the extent of what we've done there. Does that answer your question?
Well, I'm trying to figure out, what do you find is the underlying message that a social impact organization is trying to send out there as a message in a marketing concept, right? A non-for-profit is very different from a social impact organization. The message is very different.
Okay.
Right? There's a social impact that they're trying to market out there. A non-for-profit, the message is different. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. How would you market that? And how would you pre-qualify? That's what I'm trying to figure out. The marketing is different.
Yeah, there's a really great book. It's called Building a Story Brand.
Right.
And it's the only book that I've actually read. Immediately when I finished, I started reading it again and I read through it twice. I love that book. And the concept is, in a nutshell, organizations, really any organization, but especially a social impact organization, really has a story to tell. And the story is not your story necessarily. It's really the person who you're trying to reach. It's their story that you want want them to be able to see themselves in the story. So, for example, if you're trying to impact change, you're trying to cause change, you need people to be able to realize that they actually are the ones who are empowered to do that through your organization. It's not your organization that's actually making that change. So that's a shift in focus. A lot of social causes, things of that nature, nonprofits. What we found is a lot of them want to talk about themselves, which is great, and you need to express yourself. You do need to talk about yourself, but really, it's more about building a story that your donors, your members, your customers can see themselves fitting into and connecting with. And so that's where the passion comes from those individuals to support that organization going forward. That would be my take on social change organizations, and what I would probably recommend is really we want to get the messaging down, and we want to make sure that we're communicating it effectively so that people can see themselves in it, and that we're communicating to people where they're at. Does that answer your question, Angie?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Annie and Charles. So you already answered red or green. So I'm actually going to ask you, where was your favorite, or where is your favorite place to get Christmas?
Sadie's. I like Sadie's. Sonia has gotten me hooked on Stripes burritos.
Yes.
So if you guys ever go to Stripes, I like the #1, which is the bacon burrito. But I get the #1 without a tortilla and without chili. And I like to put a bunch of Texas Pete's on there, and it's quite delicious.
Awesome.
So I like Stripes, and Sadie's is 100% my favorite. Also, Mixed Chili Fix, if you guys have never been there, has a great little restaurant in town. Love those guys too.
Awesome. Okay, so normally we don't allow another question after this, but I am going to go ahead and give Alex a moment to ask his question for you.
All right.
Hey, thanks. Hey, sorry, I was in my car, so I had my video off the whole time. Thanks, Charles, for doing this. I find this so interesting. But my question is, how did you navigate, like, being a startup in marketing? You have to do so many things, from like logo design to content creation. And I just find it like, how do you have time and money as a startup, how do you navigate that?
Great question, and I'll give you a very transparent answer. Actually, this is something that I didn't really think I would talk about publicly, but why not? Financially speaking, my wife and I have made good investment decisions over the last 10 years, and so we're actually financially stable, independently, if you will, from the business. So we bootstrapped the business. I took money directly from our account, bootstrapped the business, and we were actually profitable in 5 months, which is uncommon. So by May of that year, we were profitable. And we haven't actually, I don't think we've dipped since. We've actually been profitable consistently, even through COVID. So on the financial side, that's been good. The other thing is, and this is what I didn't think I would actually talk about publicly, but recently I found out I've been diagnosed with ADHD, adult ADHD. And one of the issues with people with ADHD is they can have a hard time focusing on certain things, especially if they're not interested in them. It's really hard to focus. The reverse of that, though, is that they're able to hyper focus on certain things. especially if they find them interesting and work for very long hours and very consistently over a very long period of time. That happens to be that happens to be my case, where I'm very hyper focused on things to a fault, actually, sometimes. So really just putting in the hours and making the effort has been a big part of it. Sitting down, actually doing work, finding new clients, talking to them, building the business, but also working within the business has been something that I've done from the very start. So I would call it a grind for sure. But yeah, it's all been kind of prepping to make sure that we're building at the right pace, not over hiring, not understanding the business well enough, things like that.
Right. It just seems like there's so much, you have to learn all the different software, and you just have to have such an overarching knowledge of marketing. It seems so hard for like one person to do as a startup. So I find that interesting.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, because I did hire a team before at the place that I worked, I was able to leverage a lot of those individuals as contractors. So you have these super highly qualified people who make good money, who were willing to work with me and do really work at a fraction of what they're really valued at, because these people are really good. But they've been really good to me as well. So it's been a great benefit to have that support from that group. And I couldn't have done it without them too.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you.
Just to add to that too, I think it helps that Charles focuses solely on what do you call it, Charles? Digital marketing, right? I think it helps when you hyper focus down to something specific, because as a former media marketing person, I focused on Facebook and Twitter and those sorts of platforms. So I feel like if you're a solo person starting out your firm, you really have to kind of focus at first so you can learn those other things. Now, Clifton, you just opened my eyes. He says Stripes has chicken strips with green chili ranch. I have to go back and try that. That sounds amazing. And for the rest of you, if you haven't tried Stripes, they have the best burritos and red chili. Okay, so I still have to ask you the last question, Charles. Meanwhile, for those of you who want to join a room and continue talking to either Charles or Adam has his room for overall health. So post in the chat to everyone what room you want, or send it to Lisa directly, and she will organize that and put you in a room.
Rebecca's got an entrepreneurial engagement room as well.
Sweet. Okay.
And even though Paul's not here, Jason's dying to have a COVID discussion. So if anybody wants to join him, I'll set that room up as well.
Awesome. Okay. And so Charles, my last question for you is, what can we as a community do for you?
Thank you. That's a great question. I think the biggest thing that you can do is we're actively seeking different perspectives from startups in terms of what the needs are, what the challenges are, how you feel like you could be serviced better, those kind of things. So if you're a startup owner and you'd like to have some of those conversations with me, I would appreciate that. That'd be great. So please reach out, and I'd love to have some of those conversations. And it's not with the intention of trying to get your business. It's with the intention of trying to understand the needs of the demographic better. And then if you don't identify as someone in that category, if you know someone who you think would be a good fit for us to meet with, that would be good. And specifically, we're looking for a lot of diversity in terms of, very small startups to very large startups that have maybe taken on funding and those kind of things. So a wide range of gambit in there in terms of startups.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
And let's see. I think up next we have Eric.
Oh, the joy. Let's see. So I put some of these things in the chat, but there's a lot of different events. So I'm just going to highlight a few different things today. Not too long from now is Rainforest Innovations. That's the one that's just across the street from Fat Pipe. They've got a session on successful startups designing, creating, and renovating your business from 12 to 1. Also tonight, the LGBT chamber locally has rebranded as the Out Business Alliance, and they've got a virtual business exchange and happy hour that happens from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. On Thursday, you got Taza from SVEDC. That's over on Facebook. Just put in the chat earlier, Albuquerque Hispano Chamber has got their Get Crafty that afternoon. Link again is in the chat, and there's also Kick-Ass Entrepreneurs in Santa Fe that evening. You got Adam's Friday Flow that's talking about the very important issue of how do you balance relationships of business and family. And someone on the team has got a thing called Short Storyathon starting this Friday evening from 6 to 9 p.m. on Friday. I'm not sure, Sonia, if you want to talk more about that. Getting into next week, the thing that'll highlight, there's something about Civic Tech Hackathons from Code for Albuquerque and a few others. But New Mexico Angels has got sort of new leadership, and they've got a handful of different events that are happening that week. From Tutor Tuesday, Wednesday, they've got office hours and an open house. And then they've got an investor roundtable for startups and investors that's happening on Friday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. The other stuff's in the chat, but yeah, a lot of things going on, and hope to see you at one of them.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. And actually, for those of you who are interested in writing a short story, and you don't even have to have an idea to start off with, I kind of help you with that, and learn to publish your short story to Amazon. I have not had time to go to Eventbrite and raise the prices, so you should take advantage of that before I remember to do that today. Yeah, that's coming up this Friday. It starts Friday night and ends late Sunday. It's a long weekend, but very productive. Now, I would love to hear anyone's wins that they might have had this week. And actually, I have one to kind of share with you. So it was almost a year ago at a short storyathon, and Albuquerque the magazine was like, we want to come and take photos of the people at your event. And so back then it was partially virtual. So I got all my writers together, and but they needed more people for the photos. So luckily I was in Fat Pipe ABQ, and I basically got everyone in the building to come and get their picture taken. So we are on page 42, the short storyathon. Some of those people are writers, and then some of them are just people who were in the building at the time. But we're also in the hot singles edition. So that's my win for the week. Who else has a win? And I can't see hands up. So if you have a win, feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I got another win this week. It's Phil.
Nice.
So I got a very smart lady from UNM that has a product, and I'm actually helping to take her through the National Science Foundation ICOR program, which is a 12-week program, and they get $50,000, and that goes to help them get their product to market.
Nice. Way to go, Phil. And Annie, you have a win you want to share?
Yes, we have a designer architecture for our project. So we're moving our project forward. I got some funding to do the design on our sustainable community development.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have a win that they'd like to share? Adam, is that your hand up? Okay, go for it.
Yeah, so I've been having a pretty good month in general, but I finally decided that I've gotten to the point where I have to figure out how to cut back how many clients I'm taking on. So that's pretty exciting.
Right, that's always a good problem to have.
Or raise your prices.
Or raise your prices. I like that too. All right, anybody else want to share a win? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no.
No, I do.
Adam
I
has
just
his hand up.
Oh, Adam. Okay, go for Adam, and then Clifton, and then we'll move on to the rooms.
I posted in the chat a link. We're using no code for our forward-facing customer app. So if you guys can go in there and check it out. I presented a couple of weeks ago with 1 Million Cups. We're creating this solution for athletes. We've launched. We have some pretty significant technology companies around the country that are looking at us. So it's exciting. So if you guys are active, you don't have to be an athlete winning any type of event, but you just want to stay healthy and are focused on how to prevent injuries, and when you have an injury, how to manage it. go into that app and just provide feedback. You can do it directly to me, or we have a Q&A section in there. So I'd appreciate the help.
So I think you sent that directly to me.
No, I did it to both. I did it directly
Okay.
for the roller derby, but then way at the top, I did it to everybody.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And Clifton?
So I've been working with a group of people called the Alliance for Local Economic Prosperity, and we've been putting together advocacy for a state public bank, and we now have our Public Banking Act filed. It's Senate Bill 313. So there is now a crafted bill going before legislation to withdraw a little bit of the state taxes from the Wall Street banks and put it in a depositor bank where the state is the only depositor, and then that money gets used to backstop other loans from CDFIs, community banks, credit unions, etc., to improve our local economic development. So Eric has been helping me forward some of the information via social media and whatnot. So thank you, Eric. And I encourage everybody to look into SB 313. Is that what I said? Yes. So that's a big win. We've been working on this for over 10 years now. So get this legislation in the session is pretty cool.
Awesome. Congratulations, Clifton. All right. Now we're ready for rooms.
I've got them all set up. We have 4 breakout rooms. Of course, we have X10 Marketing with Charles, Your Overall Health with Adam Halpern, Entrepreneurial Engagement with Rebecca, and a COVID-19 room with Jason and Michael. I've made pre-assignments if you've chatted me and let me know where you want to go. You should have the capability to go